Hey, what's up, DS3TV? I can see you haven't subscribed to the channel. It's kind of weird. You should subscribe. I mean, you know, we got some good content here. And also, go to the Twitch that's in the link down in the description. Link is probably right here under me. And yeah, should do all of that. And yeah, please subscribe. Get to see me have hot sauce that I don't really want to have when we get to 10,000. So subscribe. What's up, DS3TV? We are back for another video. This one is a ZeFrank video. One of our subscribers did recommend this video. You can recommend me videos in the comment section down below. Also, join my Patreon where I will shout you out in the video. And also you will get videos the day before they come out. So yeah, and also, yeah, so this is going to be true facts about sea stars, and let's get into it. And play.
This episode is sponsored by Brilliant, a better way to learn. Millions of years ago, the ancestor of sea stars and the other echinoderms thought, screw it, I want to be a circle. The problem was, it wasn't a circle, and even today its descendants most often start their lives out as two-sided bilateral babies. But evolution...
It looks like an NPC.
Can do magical things if you get it drunk enough, and as these larvae grow, a second baby, a round baby, starts to grow inside them. The second baby kind of eats the original baby and then bursts out into the world. That's one way to do it.
Wait, what? It eats the way? That is insane. That is a meta way to be born.
This new body plan of echinoderms has radial symmetry and is a marvel of engineering. First off, the skeletons of echinoderms are made out of this crap. It looks like a bag of evidence from when they finally arrest the tooth fairy.
I mean, but it also looks like a sponge. It looks like a spongy tooth.
These pieces are called ossicles, and they're made by cells that are almost like little 3D printers. They come in all sorts of shapes and sizes, and often look like something you might find on a tray at Satan's dentist. Up close, you can see that these ossicles are made out of a porous honeycomb mesh of...
These are starting to creep me out, actually. I have like a little bit of a fear of clusters of holes.
Magnesium calcite. All those little holes allow tissue to grow inside them and to connect them to other ossicles in a kind of 3D jigsaw puzzle. It's a little like evolution got a model airplane kit, but where the pieces weren't labeled, so there was nothing left to do but sniff the glue and get creative. The resulting skeletons can be quite flexible, like those in the arms of the brittle star, for example. Or when they're fused together, they can form the solid dome or test of a sea urchin. But these parts aren't just internal. You can see them on the surface of the sea star as well, in the form of spines or these little crazy things called pedicellari. They might not look like much, but you'll see. In the sea star,
you will see. They'll all see.
Skeleton forms a body cavity, as you can see with this one, who's had a bit of a rough day. This cavity is filled with organs and what is essentially seawater.
I mean, it's good even if they're like cut off like that or whatever. They can still like live because they can just regrow parts of their bodies pretty easily.
But listen, this isn't just some star-shaped water balloon. Hidden in there is one of the most advanced hydraulic systems found in nature. Look here, on the top of sea stars you'll find a little nipply thing. It looks like where you'd put the pin in to blow up a ball of sport. This is called the Madraporite. Too close, Jerry. This looks naughty.
Yeah, that's a little bit too close. I don't really like that.
This one's better. It's like a yearbook glamour shot. The Madraporite is essentially a valve that leads to a series of canals. The canals are connected to rows of these little tube-like nubbins. The top parts sit inside of the sea star and the bottom parts stick out. Here you can see where the little canal runs down the length of the arm, and these here are the little sticky out bits. Two groups of muscles control the flow of water within these little tubes. One group pushes water down and elongates them. The other shortens them by pushing water back up to the top. These cubed feet, as they're called, run down the length of each arm in a groove. These grooves are often protected by spines, and sometimes they can even close up. It's like a dream that a dentist would bring to therapy.
It really is. Or it's like a... Actually, yeah, it is like a dream that a dentist would bring to therapy.
In sea stars, one of the functions of these tube feet is walking. Sometimes the tips of the feet are pointy, and up close they can look like an old man in a cold pool. This style of tip is especially good for digging around and burying yourself in the sand. Look at this one, he's doing it all fancy. In other species, these tube feet end in
just trying to tan, man. Let him chill out.
these sort of disc shapes. Looks a bit like an elephant that tried to snort a frisbee. These discs, can secrete a kind of a glue.
Good save, good save.
As well as an anti-glue. This allows the sea star to navigate rough terrain or to hold on in a strong current. Science hippies believe that these feet operate more or less independently, following a set of simple rules. Hold on until you're stretched too far and then let go. Then swing forward and reattach. These simple rules can lead to two styles of walking. In crawling, the tube feet are all kind of doing their own thing. It's slow, but it gets the job done. But they also have a get-me-the-hell-out-of-here sort of walk. In the right conditions, clusters of feet start moving at the same time, and it creates a faster bouncing style of movement. In the world of sea stars, this is a bit like a gallop. Now, relatives of the sea stars, the brittle stars, felt like this way of walking didn't quite have enough pep. Instead of using tube feet to move,
oh my gosh, the brittle star really is, it looks, I was wondering how does the brittle star look, but it just looks so skinny. Oh my god.
brittle stars use their arms in a sort of breaststroke with a leading erection. And they're good at it too. When they get going, they're pretty quick. To change direction, they don't turn, they just lead with a different arm. I mean, they're not facing in any particular direction because they don't have a face. And that's what happens when you forget to evolve a head. And they can be quite cute, especially when they're little. Look at this one, he's
Aw, does look kinda cute.
adorable. But look at this right here. I know what you're thinking. Why does that fish look so freaked out? It's just a harmless little brittle star.
That fish is like, get me out of here, get me the hell out of here.
Well, just wait till you hear what happened to Marjorie. But first, a message about our sponsor. If you like learning as much as I do, and I do, you'll want to do it your whole life. And today's sponsor, Brilliant, is an excellent partner on that journey.
As you know, we don't really go through the sponsor, but I do show the creator code usually. Because I do still want to support it, but I'm not going to watch it because I know I don't have anything to say about the ad.
Size pieces when your brain's up for it. But trust me, these are concepts that can, regardless of what you're interested in. To get started for free, visit brilliant.org/.
Yep, and that's the ad right there. You see the link. Also, you can go to the original video that I'm going to have a link in the description for that too, so yeah.
ZeFrank, or click on the link in the description. The first 200 people will get 20% off Brilliant's annual premium subscription. Oh, right. So Marjorie the squid was out there minding her own business, got a little distracted and wound up in the wrong neighborhood. And look, a brittle star just reaches up and grabs her. She gets away from that one, but the problem is she's surrounded. They're friggin' everywhere. Bad day for Marjorie. That's what you get if you don't pay attention. Don't worry, she gets away. Just kidding. She dies.
This is the best storytelling ever. It's like Morgan Freeman if he can just say whatever he wanted to off the cuff.
I'm telling you, brittle stars are quite aggressive. One finds a dead fish and suddenly it's a full-on rumble. Look, that one's getting away. Run away! I digress. Now, brittle stars do have tubed feet. They just don't use them for walking. Instead, it turns out that tubed feet can be used to do all sorts of things. For one, they can absorb oxygen and be used for breathing. Your foot can't do that. Your foot's boring.
I think my foot is boring. I would like my foot to be used for breathing. That's insane.
And it's not just breathing either. On the tips of their arms, sea stars have a cluster of thin, wispy, modified tubed feet. These seem to have chemoreceptive abilities that can sense concentrations of different molecules in the water around them. Now, they don't have a central brain, but instead they have a distributed nervous system. The arms and even individual parts of the arms can sense and react to stimuli on their own. Bigger decisions, like which way to move, are made by integrating signals across all of the arms. And it's not just touch and chemical signals. You see that little orange thing? You know what that is? It's a freaking eye. Each arm has a friggin' eye on the end. How
Each arm has an eye. That's actually amazing.
crazy is that? You can't tell them not to point and stare. That's just how the sea star do. If they ever evolve faces like a people, this is what you'd be looking at. Right before you got a tube foot up your... Well, this compound eye sits on, you'll never guess this, a modified tubed foot. Up close, you can see that it's a cluster of photoreceptive cells, which look a bit like something you might see a urologist for.
It looks like something that I would see in a horror movie, but, you know, to each his own.
See? Sea stars see, but they're not crazy good at the seeing thing. You know, you wouldn't want their help with a jigsaw puzzle, but it's probably good enough to help the sea star get its bearings. An eye on each arm means that sea stars can have a near 360-degree simultaneous field of vision. Can't sneak up on sea star. Sea stars sneak up on you. Some species have even fancier bits.
Ooh, look at them just laying out there, kind of fancy like.
The sea star Lynchia levigata is an eye that is surrounded by darkened, tube feet. I really feel like we could make a case for dropping the word feet. These darkened but see-through tubes seem to act like sunglasses. And look at that. They can close their eye all the way. They can friggin' wink. With the help of their sensory tubes and little eyes, sea stars can search around for things to eat. Different species are looking for different things, preferably something they can catch, which does limit it a bit. Some of them just sort of sift through crap that they find in the great litter box of the ocean floor. Mud stars full-on bury themselves and eat mouthfuls of it. Their mouth's already pointed that way, and they don't have to move that far, so that's good. Downside is they're eating mud. Other species prefer coral.
I bet you to them that mud tastes like the best lobster, like the best. Like, it probably tastes like the best quality food that we have.
Which sometimes comes on a stick. It's like if you found a shish kebab the size of a palm tree. Just climb on and start eating your way to the top. These sea stars don't really have teeth or the kind of mouth you can chew with. So instead, they evert their stomach, which is a fancy science word for saying turns the insides outsy. The stomach then just starts digesting on the outside. Sucks for the coral, horrible way to die, and it can take months. If a sea star has a taste for a stupid clam, it can use its little suction cup feet to pry apart the shell wide enough so that it can stick its stomach in there and go to work.
Oh my gosh, look at, like, anything being devoured and it will look like that would be such a scary way to go.
I know what you're thinking. My stomach can't do that. Well, not with that attitude. Have a bowl of chili and a bottle of Southern Comfort. I bet you could barf your stomach into a clam. Deep sea stars in the...
I mean, honestly, it would be kind of like... Our stomachs are pretty cool. Like, stomach acid is actually pretty cool at the simple fact that literally it can melt through anything. So literally everything that goes into it just melts. Which is kind of crazy, but kind of cool. It's kind of like, you know, our own like little trash tank.
Order by Zingida have a different technique. They suspension feed, curling their arms up into the water column and trapping things that float by with the help of their pedicellari. Oh right, I still have to tell you about the pedicellari. As if they weren't crazy enough, sea stars are often covered in hundreds, if not thousands, of little pinchy pinchers. Sometimes they surround spines in clusters that can almost look like little pom-poms of death. Up close, you can see they're no joke, like little bear traps, and they actually work.
Yeah, it looks like little bear traps, honestly. That's insane.
They come in different shapes and sizes. Some look like little tweezers. Others can almost look like clamshells. The thinking is that they're mainly used to stop parasites from getting too cozy on the surface of the sea star. However, some species figured out how to use them to catch prey, in some cases even small fish. Now the sea urchins went next level with all this. They have three-sided pedicellari that are often on the end of long stalks. Up close they can sometimes look like forceps. In the flower sea urchin, these little jaws are covered in...
That sea urchin looks so beautiful compared to like other sea urchins that do not look beautiful.
A membrane, which, when open, make them look like tiny round flowers. But when they're disturbed, they snap shut into a little star shape and deliver a toxin. It's crazy, right? It just gets weirder and weirder. They're probably going to evolve to shoot them out like...
It looks like, I mean, it seems like you can make like a whole book on these things.
Little drones. Well, that already happened. When the collector urchin senses a predator is about, it ejects a whole bunch of its pedicellari into the water, and they just float around chomping and injecting venom into anything they touch. It's like a little cloud of pain. Anyway, while Bryzingids use pedicellari to suspension feed, another relative of sea stars, the crinoids, figured out a different way to do it. Their arms have evolved into what basically can look like feathers. These arms are lined with tubed feet and mucus-covered cilia. Little particles get trapped and then moved to the center of the arms, where tubed feet sort of snot roll them into little balls and transport them down towards the mouth. They just sort of sit there and let the food come to... Holy shit.
Oh my god, I've never seen... Wow, they move so quick.
It turns out that even though they can look like clumps of starving agave, some feather star crinoids can get quite fidgety. Look at this one walking around on his fingertips. One group in the order Cometulida even figured out how to swim. Don't know who taught them.
I wonder who taught them. This is insane. I'm learning so much about sea stars I didn't even know I wanted to know.
Can't exactly throw them in the deep end, can you? Dad joke. Not the most elegant stroke. Looks a bit like a drowning burlesque dancer. In any case, these feather star crinoids figured it out and they float or swim until they find a new place to grab on with those, well, the science hippies call them cirri. But come on.
If you couldn't tell, I was joking too. Yeah. About, who taught them. I just had to say that.
Those are witch fingers. And if you know anything about witch fingers, you know how good they are at grabbing. Go ahead and clench your ass on a broom all you want, but you need that support up front. Don't teach you that in science school, do they, you science hippies? Another group of crinoids, the sea lilies, decided to go more like full-on plant with roots and all. They have
nice. Yeah, this is good.
A long stalk that attaches quite firmly to the sea floor. This holdfast keeps them anchored and in place, even when they're pummeled by strong currents. And it looks like an idyllic life, doesn't it? Beachfront property, palm tree, well, I guess you are the palm trees, but overall a good setup to suspension feed in peace. If it weren't for these little bastards, these are sideroid sea urchins, and they look a bit like the ball they use in soccer for masochists. But the spiky bits aren't the problem, it's what's underneath. These sea urchins have a mouth that comes with 5 teeth-like things that can self-sharpen as they rub against each other.
Oh my god, that looks like an alien. Like a legit alien.
It's terrifying. This mouthpart contraption is called Aristotle's lantern, which explains why no one ever wanted to sleep over at old Aristotle's. Most regular urchins use this to scrape stuff like algae off rocks, but these sideroid urchins developed a taste for flesh, crinoid flesh. So this right here is a straight-up scene from a crinoid horror film. It's, well, the pacing is a bit slower than you might be used to, but let me tell you, if you speed things up a bit, you can see that an urchin will seriously f*** up a crinoid. Look at that, he totally ripped it apart. So,
oh my god, yeah, this is... Wow, so they developed a good taste for meat, huh?
Here's the crazy thing. Some of these sea lilies have evolved a daring escape plan. At the base of their stalk, there are segments that they can weaken using a special kind of connective tissue. Under threat, some sea lilies will fall down and break their stalks on purpose, and then frickin' crawl away. Look at that. It runs away like a mop that finally had enough of your shit.
It runs away it runs away like somebody that tripped and fell down in like a scary movie or whatever.
It's amazing. And that's the problem with living in the ocean. There's lots of things that want to eat you down there. Look at this crab, treating that brittle star like it's a pull-apart dinner roll. And that's what happens when you have all those sticking out bits. It's dangerous. It's why they don't have dog parks in nudist colonies. You're thinking about it, aren't you? Now, if you aren't good at running away, which I think we've established is the case with sea stars, you need other ways to protect yourself. You can cover yourself with sharp spines, like this one in the genus Zoroaster, or the goat of spines, the crown of thorns sea star. But there's always an animal that figures out how to get around things like that.
Oh my gosh, this, like, the snail it really wants some food.
Specific Triton here doesn't give a crap about your thorny thorns. Now, the cushion star, Pteraster tessellatus, got a little more creative. It evolved a way to create and expel toxic slime from a little hole on the top of its body. Not a little bit of slime, either. Like, a lot of slime. You should see what it does when it likes you. But sea stars have a legit magic trick. They have this special collagenous tissue throughout their body that they can harden or soften fairly quickly. So, for example, they can crawl into a crack when they're sort of limp and then stiffen up so they're wedged in there and you can't pull them out. But they can also use this collagenous tissue in the way that sea lily did. They can weaken segments in their arm so that an arm can be pulled off easily. A treat for the predator and the starfish doesn't die, win-win. And it isn't just when they're attacked. If they have sea star wasting disease like these ones do, they will pull their own arm off in order to save the rest.
Oh wow, that is actually such a good thing to do. Like, imagine if we could do that with like cancers and stuff, like how you could find like cancer like in one part of your body, but it hasn't spread over like to everything else. Imagine if you could do that. Like, say like if it was like in your arm or something, you could just pull off your arm and you would just be able to regrow it back. Like, that would be insanely a good thing to do.
You can see how the tissue immediately closes around the open wound that leads to the body cavity. The arms that are detached are still alive and will sometimes keep on searching for food and passing it back to a mouth that doesn't exist. Now, of course, the second part of this magic trick is that they can grow their arm back. They start by recreating the outer tip of the arm, the part that has the sensory bits, and then they start to fill in the middle. Here's how the trick works. Animals start out as little undifferentiated clumps of cells. These cells, stem cells, can become any sort of tissue, a nipple, an eye. But in humans, for example, once they become that thing, they can't go back to being undifferentiated. Your nipple cannot turn into an eye, thank God. Sea star cells that are one thing can go back and become something else. And that's how the sea star can regrow an entire arm using the cells from its body. What's even more amazing is that in some species, an arm that is broken off at the right segment can grow a whole rest of a starfish back. I know what you're thinking. If they can do that, it's a hell of a lot simpler way of making babies than using dating apps. There are a few species of sea star, like this one, Elastocaster insignis, that make more of themselves simply by splitting in two. The tiny little sea star Parvalastra vivipara can also do it solo, but not by ripping itself apart. Instead, it is a hermaphrodite and fertilizes its own eggs inside of itself.
Yep. So it's asexual, which, as a lot of people in like conservative beliefs have, that isn't that, stuff like this isn't in nature, like asexuality isn't in nature and stuff like that. This shows you that it is in nature. Asexuality is in nature. It's right there.
The babies are cannibals and eat each other inside the parent's body as they grow, until the lucky ones burst out of holes on its parent's back, sometimes killing them in the process. There's a baby photo for you. Leptosterius polaris, on the other hand, gets into a little sex pile. I know what it looks like, but there's no bits going into other bits in there. The males release their sperm and the females release their eggs. And when they're fertilized,
I've never seen starfish eggs. I don't know if I wanted to, but I've seen it regardless.
Females curl up in a swirl and sit on their eggs like a beard might. But most species don't put in nearly that level of effort. Males and females just release their baby-making bits into the water, cross their little tube feet, and hope for the best. Think of it like if human sperm looked like the seeds of a dandelion, and the eggs sort of came out like soap bubbles. A couple times a year, everyone just goes out on their balconies, maybe wearing a t-shirt and socks, a glass of rosé maybe. Then you just sort of let it go, and try not to get caught in a back breeze. And that is how the sea star do. No, you can't reverse it, Jerry. It's not the same thing.
Okay, I didn't know that. That's insane. Chris was invaluable to this episode both for his knowledge and his endless patience in answering a barrage of questions about one of the weirdest and vexing animals on the planet. With echoenoderms, there are exceptions to every rule, and it's hard to say anything definitive about them as a whole. Chris' encyclopedic knowledge of Astrodea was incredibly helpful and inspiring. Thanks, Chris. That is good. Thank you, Chris. Dr. Chris Ma.
Because I think it's reasonable to think that someone might want a dog park in a nudist colony, but then think better of it because the dogs would... Right. But I'm saying that no reasonable person would put a nudist colony inside of a dog park. Well, for one, the infrastructure. Where would the nudists shower, Jerry? In the drinky fountain? Well, yes, dogs are technically nude. All right, fine, Jerry. Dog parks are nudist colonies.
I mean, they are technically nude, basically.
For dogs. Idiot. Timmy, we talked about this. Well, I don't care if it feels good. You don't do it in public.
Oh my god. This starfish is going in. It's hungry and it's not waiting. Okay, so that was the end of the video. And yeah, talk to you guys in the next video. And yeah, peace.